Hi, sweeties. How are you doing? Welcome to Naya Sim or Cimnanya, and thank you all so much for all the love and support. Hope you all are doing great. So I came across this video of this young Asian lady. She was talking about how she cannot believe that affirmative action has been struck out. Like she feel like doing so many things to the people that made it possible for that affirmative action to be struck out. I mean, you all remember what happened during that period. That was last year. They wrote petition, because that felt like they are being cheated on. Like Black people are the ones benefiting from it so much. So they felt like there is need to get rid of that. So I mean, thinking that it's going to probably favor them, right? She actually said that you all know that most Asians are idiot. This is her own word, not my word, right? And the truth is that I love the fact that she actually mentioned that Black people that they were trying to punish, that they forgot that Black people helped them fought hand in hand during Civil Rights Act, right? And she also mentioned that they are being used against their own interest and they already bought into white supremacists. That's why they did things like this. Because if not, who in his right mind or in his right senses that will do something like this? I love it. I love the fact that to this very moment they are still talking about it. The truth is that Black people already moved on, but they cannot move on because they are feeling the heat. Let's get into this video.
Let's yap about how Asian Americans fucked up affirmative action. Guys, I'm running on a broken nail and a Celsius, and I'm so angry. The worst part was that this was just a part of some ploy from a white man. There are three things that are important to talk about in this case. Number one, it's important to understand what affirmative action is. Two, how white supremacy actually pits people of color against each other, and Asian Americans, I'm looking at you and your fucking dumbasses. And the interesting dynamic of Asian Americans with other POC communities, particularly the Black community. So, what's affirmative action? Affirmative action is a policy that came about during the Civil Rights era that sets systematic procedures within federal policy to ensure that historically marginalized groups were given opportunities for advancement and inclusion, particularly within college admissions. What I want everyone watching this to understand is that affirmative action, contrary to popular belief, is not a ticket into college, especially if you are a person of color. It's not. In fact, affirmative action was actually created just to ensure that white legacy kids weren't the only people given opportunities to actually succeed in white society. Because of a lot of Black activists during the Civil Rights era, all people, not just Black people within the United States now actually had a chance of doing well in America. Now, affirmative action was already deeply unpopular because anytime white people have to share something that should be for the rest of us, they get a little bit, bitchy. It also upset a lot of people from the Asian American community, particularly because of two things. One was because a lot of people grew up under the model minority myth, which was this myth that led a lot of us to believe that we were the exception, that we were, the good minority that just followed through with all of the rules and procedures that white people had already set for us. And the second thing is just the idea of the American dream. A lot of Asian people just happen to be immigrants, not all of us, of course, but it also essentially allowed us to believe that, if we worked hard, we would get it. Obviously, that's not true. I work really hard and all I have is anxiety and depression. The federal ruling for affirmative action starts to collapse when this 18-year-old named John Wang, who has a 1590 SAT score and a very good GPA, gets really butthurt about the fact that he didn't get to a bunch of elitist schools. And he starts talking about this a lot on media, and he basically claims that the reason that he didn't get into these schools is because he's Asian American. Now, I don't think that this is entirely untrue because I do believe that people of color in general have a harder time getting into more traditional elitist schools. However, the issue that I have with this little twat is that he claimed that African Americans actually have an easier time getting into these schools because of affirmative action. He ends up going to this organization called the Students for Fair Admissions that basically is just this whole thing that's against affirmative action entirely and has been since it was ever created. What happens is that they give him this calculator and basically tell him that with his stats, if he was a Black person, he would have a 95% chance of getting admitted into Harvard. Truly? Where are they finding this calculator and where can I destroy it? Because that doesn't even make any sense. The case eventually gets picked up by someone named Edward Blum, who is the head of Students for Fair Admissions. Not only is he the head of this dumbass organization, he's also a white Republican litigator who literally has decades worth of experience trying to dismantle everything that happened within the civil rights era because he just hates people of color that much. Particularly, this man has been looking, searching, desperately praying for a reason to dismantle affirmative action. And the funniest thing is that he doesn't even have actual experience as a litigator. He is professionally known as an amateur litigator who just doesn't like people of color and seeing us winning, apparently. Him and his groupies at his little org basically take all of these testimonies from Asian American people like John Wang and create a case against Harvard that he takes all the way to the Supreme Court to essentially argue that affirmative action is actually discriminatory against Asian Americans and the rest of the population. And it's so embarrassing at the fact that Asian Americans were getting used by this white man, and we fell for it. We fell for it so hard because of the internal racism that we have within ourselves. But when I say ourselves, Asian American community, you know which particular one I'm talking about. You know which subset I'm angry at. In June of 2023, the Supreme Court decides to side with Edward Blum and says that affirmative action is actually unconstitutional under the Equal Protection Act of the 14th Amendment. So basically, this little white man, he gets his way simply just because Asian Americans don't know how to use critical thinking when it comes to this and realizing that this actually isn't going to help us out in the long run. Edward Blum dismantles decades of hard work done by Black activists to make sure that not only their community, but the rest of us are set to go when it comes to college admissions. Make it a little bit more fair, because it's never going to actually be equal, but at least make it a little bit better. And we fell for it. We fell for it because Asian Americans sometimes were idiots. There was this survey done with Asian Americans in college, and it turns out that an overwhelming majority of us actually support affirmative action and understand why it's important. It's just a small portion of our community that just decides to scream the loudest because they still have it in their head that we are the model minority, that we have to follow through with the American dream. I also feel like it erases a lot of the actual very intense history Asian Americans have with activism within the United States, particularly in conjunction and in gratitude with the Black community. Think about Yellow Peril supports Black power during the Civil Rights era, and the Black community support of Asian Americans during protests against the Vietnam War. And as a gay Filipino first-gen American, I remember hearing about this court case and essentially crying when I found out that affirmative action was going to get repealed. Not having affirmative action basically protects people who would rather not see people like me enter into spaces where we can actually enact change for the better. It protects people like Edward Blum who want to make sure that our country stays a white supremacist country. And for Asian Americans, those that are watching this that have come to believe that, Black people are taking all of the opportunity away from us, they're not. There is someone who's doing that. Things aren't going to change because you worked hard. Things are going to change because you realize that the system that you're working under is inherently not made for you. And there are people that want to change that. You just have to open up your mindset. And Edward Blum. Edward Blum. If I am going to hell, I am going to make sure to drag you down with me.
So this is all I got from this video. I love the fact that they are, after how many, it's since last month that happened, they struck out affirmative action. I love the fact that it's 2024 and they are still feeling somebody is talking about it and it's not coming from Black people. The truth is that you will never see Black people make videos like this, right? Because they are not silly to struck or strike out some certain things that they know that are maybe help other people. Because so many people benefit from this affirmative action, right? But the people that benefit most are women. Now let's get into this. Asians actually thought Black people were their problem. Black people were taking away all their things where they were supposed to shine, that they are not shining. So for that reason, let's try this out so that, Black people don't benefit from it. Not knowing that it is going to really affect them real bad. Now let's get into this. I love the fact that she said that Black people helped fight civil rights and all that, protest during Vietnam War. I know it's boiled down to civil rights because Black people fought hand in hand with them to make sure that we're able to achieve that, right? I love the fact that she mentioned that. And the truth is that some of them are not reasonable because they are also, okay, most of them already bought into white supremacists, right? And they are also being used as pawns, which is also good because you cannot be used except you accept to be used. I don't know if that makes sense. Nobody is forcing you. So most of them already bought into that. That is one of the reasons why you see them agitating for it and the rest of it. Now, at some point, they made it look like Black people are the ones benefiting from it the most, which is not true. And they also knew that. But I don't know if they knew that because it was in the end that they started screaming that they were deceived. The truth is that you cannot be deceived except you also want to be deceived. So for those that were deceived, that is something you bought into, right? And I am saying congratulations to you all. So I am happy that they are still talking about it because I am sure most Black people already forgotten about it, moved on to the next one. And here they are. Some of them want to get into school. Some of them want to do some certain things. And now they can see that they cannot use that affirmative action because it is no longer there. I love things like this. I love to see it happen because if you all remember during the period when that boy wrote that, wrote concerning the affirmative action because, he felt like he is being deprived from getting some certain things or attaining some certain levels. So in the end, it was cleared of no more affirmative action. Black people are doing it correct. Black people are not they are not complaining. Since then, I have really not done any video of Black person talking about how affirmative action is affecting them and all that. It has always been Asian people. And they were also the ones that wrote petition to strike that out. So congratulations to you all. I am sure you all are enjoying the fruit of your labor. I mean, one thing I know for sure is that what you sow is what you reap. When you sow beans, you also reap beans. You cannot sow beans and reap corn. That is how it works, right? So congratulations and keep soaring, keep buying into white supremacists. Keep being used as a pawn against your own interest, because this is what I call people being used voting against your own interest and turning back in the end to come back and check or ask, could something be done about this thing that happened? Nothing could be done about it. I hope you all are having the best time of your lives. I hope you all are enjoying it. So that's all I got to say. See you all in my next video. Bye for now.